What's up, everyone? This is Lan here with you again from the Cheeseheadz Weekly Podcast. Today, I don't have a major topic to talk about, but there's lots of just um, random stuff going on that I will talk about. It's going to be mainly Packer stuff. We've got a few new developments on the hopefully upcoming trade of Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, and we'll get into some of that. First of all, I'd like to tell y'all we got some Q&A and polls on Spotify. Those are a lot of fun. I would love even more participation in those than we've been having. Also, you can send in a voice message of a question or anything else you'd like me to hear about, and I can feature that on the show. Links to send in a voice messages are in uh, every single episode description. So that's easy to find, and it's very easy to send in a message as well. Also, it would be great if you could rate the show. More ratings, the better. It gets it out to more people. We can grow the show, distribute it to more areas possibly, and just in general make the show better. So that it would be very helpful. New episodes every Tuesday, so you can tune in there. As of now, we are currently available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora. I believe those are all for right now, so a few new ones since last time. We're working on making some things better, and hopefully in the coming weeks I'll have an announcement uh, regarding the show as well. Um, so you can get your hopes up about that, maybe. Uh, yeah, also tell your friends about the show. That would be great. Get the word out that way. And I know some people who have done that, support the show, and have done that before. So that's great. Be sure to follow the show um, anywhere you listen to the show. That'd be great if you haven't done that already. And also hit the bell on Spotify if you want to be notified when a new episode comes out. Alright, so let's talk a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. So we'll try to understand Aaron Rodgers a little bit. So pretty much he's sounded like he was surprised maybe a little bit that the Packers wanted to trade him, but we've got some things going on. Monday we had the meeting with teams, coaching staffs, front offices, um, the annual league meeting, and discussing changes they want to make in the league, and just being able to talk with other general managers, other teams. Packers most likely talked to the Jets, and Ryan Gutekunst talked. Matt LaFleur talked. Interviewing guys. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh of the Jets talked. So we got some stuff coming out. According to Brian Gutekunst, Rodgers was kind of unreachable. He tried multiple times to reach Rodgers via phone call, maybe texting, I don't know. But he was trying to reach Rodgers. He wanted to talk to Rodgers and couldn't really get a hold of him, talk through their options. And Rodgers kind of famous for doing things like that. And so the deal is, I mean, um, I've said some things about Rodgers before that made you think maybe I'm not a Rodgers fan. Here's the deal. I've never been a huge Rodgers fan. Not even before this off season, not before the last few off seasons. I've never been a huge Rodgers fan. He's just not quite my type of guy, and that's okay. I am a Packers fan, so that means I am somewhat of a Rodgers fan, and I want him to succeed. Um, I certainly don't see things the way he does. But here's the deal. Darkness Retreat, people were joking with him about that. I have no problem with the Darkness Retreat whatsoever, okay? Uh, Darkness Retreat, that's okay. He wants to get alone, to think through everything. That's fine. I'm actually sort of the same way. If I'm going to make a big decision, I mean, this is a big decision for Roger. This is a life decision. And, so if I'm making a big decision like that, yeah, I want to be in the quiet and alone. Now, maybe I'm not going 4 days in complete darkness, but that's okay. That's how he wanted to wanted to make that decision, and that's okay. But what really kind of what I didn't like about it was that he came out of the darkness retreat and he hadn't even completely made a decision yet. He still hadn't made a decision. For 4 days, he's in complete darkness, didn't make the decision. He said beforehand it'll get him closer to the decision. That's exactly what happened. It got him closer to his decision. I think at that point he kind of knew what he was going to do, but he wasn't telling anyone, and it sounded like Brian Gutekunst could get a hold of him. And at that point, Gutekunst is like, okay, we're just going to have to move on. And, um, and so he got a hold of Rodgers' representation. He said he would have liked to talk to Rodgers himself, couldn't, and asked, "What's Rodgers thinking here? Like, we need to move on. We need to figure out what's happening." At this point, we're kind of looking to move on to Love, but what are we thinking here? And according to Rodgers' representation, he wanted to go to the Jets, be traded to the Jets. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't have a major problem with Rodgers. But the thing is, he does have that thing where he doesn't tell people. He's very private, and that's great. You want people to respect your privacy, but the thing is, whenever a team's trying to make a decision, you're this team's franchise quarterback, an all-time great quarterback. They're trying to make a decision with you, and you're just gonna kind of leave them hanging. They don't know what they're supposed to do. They're gonna move on, and he's said he doesn't feel like a victim. He's very thankful for the Green Bay organization and everything. But then he kind of just subtly roasts the Packers about how they don't treat veteran players very well. And, even gave some examples, I believe. And so and then made it sound like he was very unhappy with the whole idea when he was on the Pat McAfee show, and made it sound like maybe he was a victim, even though he said he was not. So, but everything's kind of a stalemate. We had reports from Tom Pelissero that they're really far apart, or from me and Rappaport as well. Rappaport's been pretty active in the department of the trade, and so we're kind of just waiting. But there was some talk. Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst. Um, yeah, Rappaport said that the Packers transitioned to Love because they couldn't get answers from Rodgers. And yeah, that's pretty much what it sounded like. And so it's not like they were totally all in on moving on after the season. Maybe they were thinking that it was a very real possibility. So we'll see what happens there. But as far as how the trade is going, um, it sounds like, according to Brian Gutekunst, a first round pick is not a necessity. But he does want premier draft picks for Rodgers, obviously. Um, According to a report that just came out today, I believe, here, the 28th of March, on a Tuesday, uh, Jets want protections from the Packers in the scenario that Rodgers plays only one season. As like maybe looking for a conditional pick in 2025 in case he's not playing in 2024, and that seems to be kind of the sticking point. This report came from Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, by the way, and it sounds like, according to Robinson, that parts of the currently proposed deal, the Packers would get a second round pick in 2023 and 2024 conditional pick that could go up to a first rounder based on how well the Jets do next season. So that's reasonable. Obviously, as a Packers fan, I'd love to see them get the first round pick. But I'd say it's reasonable. But the thing is, I can see why the sticking point is the 2025 pick. I think the 2024 conditional pick, I don't know, it has to be, is kind of where that's going. Maybe, I'd say maybe if the 2025 pick is like a third round pick, a conditional third round pick based on if Rodgers keeps playing or not, for the Jets, if he plays more than one season. And then you go the 2024 conditional pick. Yeah, that's based on their performance in 2023 in that season. Based on their performance, how well the Jets do, that could go up to a first rounder. That could be like third rounder to second to first, and you set the boundaries somewhere in there. I've seen different things of how that could all work. Um, and then the Jets did recently just trade Elijah Moore, so the Packers would not be getting him in a trade. Traded him to Cleveland. I believe they got a second round pick and another pick. So they have the 42, the 43 pick in the second round. I'd say you add another second round pick in there. And so the Packers are getting two second round picks in 23. Then they can do the 2025 conditional second or third round pick, and then the 2024 conditional pick for the Packers. That could possibly be as little as a third rounder, as much as a first rounder, based on how well the Jets do next season. That's kind of my thoughts on that. And you can let me know on your thoughts on that in the Q&A. I'll ask a question on that. But the Jets did confirm that they're committed to going all in on a trade for Rodgers. There's really no plan B for the Jets right now, according to Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. It's all Aaron Rodgers, so it's just about getting the trade done. They have been interested in Odell Beckham Jr., as we figured they would be. So it's kind of where we're at. It sounds like everyone's optimistic, but they all are like, yeah, we're not in any major hurry. Jets, Packers both said that. We'll see what happens. It sounds like the main timeline right now is before the draft. So Packers are spending little money. So it sounds like Rodgers will be traded before June 1st. In other news, Packers lost linebacker Chris Barnes to the Arizona Cardinals. Not a huge loss. And that same day, the Packers re-signed Eric Wilson, one of the team's core special teamers from last season. Good signing there. They're working a lot on the special teams, which is great. They also were able to re-sign Justin Hollins, edge rusher, 1-year deal. Just another cheap deal, which was awesome. He's experienced. He's capable. He played pretty well last season. He's a good rotational guy, and they're looking for depth in that department, so that's good. They'll probably draft another pretty talented, fairly high pick at edge rusher, is my guess. There's been some Lamar Jackson news. He put out he tweeted on March, or he tweeted on, what was it, Monday, yesterday, during the league annual league meetings, and that he had requested a trade from Baltimore in March 2. There had been some reports from Ian Rappaport and others from NFL Network, I believe, that have said it sounds more like that's kind of as, like, if they can't offer him, if they're not going to give him the money he wants, then they should trade him. I think maybe the Ravens are willing to do that if they get the right price. If Lamar Jackson is, if they're not willing to give Jackson the money, um, I don't know. Jackson, I think, should hire an agent. Really, he should. Doesn't have an agent. Um, but uh, sounds like um, John Harbaugh initially on his interview during the meetings was not aware of that tweet coming out. Kind of was a little bit surprised, stammering around a little bit, whatever. So Washington isn't going to pursue Lamar Jackson. They're high on Sam Howell as their quarterback. So we'll see where that goes. So I don't know about Lamar Jackson. There's been plenty of stuff about him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there as well. It's definitely an interesting story. Makes for an interesting read. So I guess we'll have to see what happens. But it sounds like everyone is optimistic, both sides. Rodgers trade is going to get done. Robert Saleh said he's sure they will figure something out. But pretty much it's between the GMs right now. So we'll see what happens there. But thanks for listening to another episode of the Cheeseheadz Weekly Podcast. Another shorter episode to make up for a longer one last week. And we'll get into more topical stuff probably next time. But a trade could be coming soon. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you again, or talk to you rather again, next Tuesday. Goodbye.